All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Much peace and mercy to the hopeful elect. You brothers and you sisters, wholeheartedly waiting upon the Lord Yahweh to send his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, to deliver us from this captivity. To you I say shalom. Now this video is going to be entitled, Trump sends ICE agents to airports. Right? Trump sends ICE agents to airports. And pretty recent news within the last few days or so. You know, you have these ICE agents that are now being placed within these airports, right? As if there wasn't enough security at these airports already. So what is going on is basically the TSA workers aren't being paid due to the shutdown, I believe. And you know, they're calling in sick, man. They're like, nah, man, you know, fuck it. I'm not going to work. Why go to work if I'm not going to get paid for it? You just working for free. And this is another example of how this man is going to come down with great wrath. He's stationing these because this is a military. ICE is a military, right? Was it immigration? Oh, let's see real fast. Let me make sure. This is it says U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, right? Enforcement, right? They're enforcing something. And it says, let's see, most common referred to as ICE, a federal law enforcement agency under the Department of Homeland Security, responsible for enforcing immigration and customs laws. So it was created in 2003 and handles border control, trade, and the detention/removal of undocumented immigrants. So mainly they were set up at the borders, but now Trump has released them throughout the entire country. You know, they were talks and things of them being stationed at particular locations within the Super Bowl. You know, obviously we know that they were stationed out there in Minnesota, and you had all those different events that happened within that. Oh my God, it's demons. You can't make this shit up. So yeah, you know, the events that happened out there in Minnesota, and there were talks of ICE being stationed in Washington, coming to Chicago and in Michigan and different things like that. And now the recent talk is these ICE agents being stationed within these airports, you know, because airports, you got a lot of, you know, foreigners coming in through the airports, you know, domestic travel, international travel as well. So because these TSA workers aren't coming into work, he's stated, and this is all chess moves, man, which everything is being prepared by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He's using this man on the left hand to set up his ultimate downfall. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article here. It says, across some of the nation's busiest airports this week, a group of immigration and customs enforcement agencies surveyed what felt like never-ending security lines, some directing confused travelers or handing out water, while others stood silently with their thumbs tucked into the sides of their tactical vests. Painful travel delays have resulted from a Department of Homeland Security shutdown tied to a so there was the DHS shutdown tied to a dispute over immigration enforcement tactics. So basically they went on shutdown due to the whole immigration thing. On Monday, ICE, an agency whose tactics are at the center of the funding standoff, deployed hundreds of agents to 14 airports as the Trump administration seeks to ease disruptions. It says flyers have faced hours-long waits and lines sneaking out of airports as hundreds of TSA employees have quit and thousands more have called out of work after going weeks without pay. And no person is going to continually work for free. You just going weeks and weeks and weeks without no money. Why are you there? You're not going to get reimbursed. So guess what? This is all to ultimately set up civil unrest, right? Let's go ahead and get some scripture real fast. Let me do this. Hit that. Boom. 2nd Ezra in the 15th chapter. I'm going to start at the 14th verse. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, right? Modern day swords are the guns. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So the kings and the princes represents these different senators, these politicians and things like that. The president, vice president, mayors. So they're not going to regard them, because you got to think about it. Gas prices is skyrocketing, right? By the day, it's going up, inching. Now you're not getting paid. You're going to work, you're not getting paid. What's that going to lead to? It's going to lead to you not having anything to eat. You're not going to pay your rent. You're not going to be able to take care of your household, etc. So that's going to lead you to start to do things that you would not necessarily do. So what they're setting, so it's not like, oh, you know what, we're going to give them funding. We're going to fund, even though they're on shutdown, we're going to have the TSA workers, we're going to pay them, make sure they get paid. No, they sent ICE agents. They're paying them, right? They're getting paid, but you're not getting paid. Why is it? Because they're trying to shut shit down, man. You're going to shut down these airports. You're going to shut down these trains, these train stations. You're going to shut shit down, man. That's why when you keep reading, it says, verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. This is exactly what we're witnessing. And it's going to come so much so to the point to where there's going to be military blockades, right? If you ever watched like any post-apocalyptic movie, the airports are always military blockade by the military. Different train stations, they have different checkpoints, right? So this is just the beginning stages of them setting up, putting these because they are a military, right? They are armed forces, right? They're setting up their military in these key positions, so that when the time comes for them to initiate martial law, hey, everything will be in place, right? So let's see. Let's read a little bit more. Actually, I got another article. I don't want to go in there too much. See here, it says thehill.com. Here's where ICE officers have been spotted assisting TSA with airport security lines. President Trump deployed Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to select airports on Monday in an effort to ease shutdown-related staffing strains that have contributed to long lines at Transportation Security Administration, TSA checkpoints, and flight delays. So because of the shutdown, is delaying flights, is long lines, people are, long flight delays, people are, missing their flights, etc. This is border SAR Tom Homan, whom Trump tasked with overseeing the deployment of the federal agents, said ICE is stationed at 14 of the country's busiest airports, and said he expects that number to grow. So guess what? You're going to send out more ICE agents, right? And they're going to send them out to different airports. Don't be surprised if you going, oh yeah, we outside summertime, and you got ICE agents, regulating who's going to this state and who's going to that state, who's leaving the country, who's coming into the country. You take your ass out the country if you want to, man. You might not come back. It says, we're there to help the American people transit. transit those lines that are taking hours because the Democrats shut the government down. And this is the whole, left right bullshit. Esau Edom is spewing. Let's just say another beast came up like a lamb who spake as a dragon, right, with two horns. Right, the two horns is the Democrats and the Republicans. It says the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, which houses both ICE and TSA, has declined to disclose the airports where ICE officers are being deployed. So you're telling me that the Department of Homeland Security, it says which houses both ICE and TSA, has declined to disclose the airports where ICE agents are deployed. So ICE agents are being paid, but TSA agents are being paid, even though they're under the same. So you can clearly see what the agenda is, right? Let's grab Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Why? Because the time is about to come where Jacob's trouble is going to be in full effect. We're in the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. These men with these ICE agents was coming down on Northern Kingdom, and then there was the talks of them coming down on the Haitians, right, which is the Southern Kingdom. So this is Jacob's trouble. So it says, remember now thy Creator. Who is the Creator? Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who created everything. The evil days, what? Jacob's trouble. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So in the days of the keeper of the house is these different, these stockbrokers and different men like that who watch the numbers, the GOP, etc. Right? It says in the days where they tremble because they see how bad it is. They see the economy going to shit. Right? It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. The strong men represents the police officers. Right? When you bow yourself, you ultimately, taking yourself out. It says, and the grinders cease because they are few. The grinders is the workers, right? Labor, right? Why? Because they are few, no jobs. You see that? In TSA, they got a job, but guess what? They're not getting paid. So guess what? You don't have a job. You working for free. That ain't you ain't doing nothing. It's not grinding. That's like you got a millstone. You're trying to grind mill, and there's no mill in grinder. You just rolling a stone on another stone. There's nothing happening. It says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Right. That means no future. When you look out the window, you're supposed to see, life, future. You see the windows being darkened. That means there is no future for this place. I was just riding past one of these, there's a movie theater. It used to be popping back in the day, like, 20 plus years ago, maybe? Not even that. Yeah, about 20, 15 years ago. It was an AMC. It's completely abandoned, man. Hasn't been touched in years. It is in great condition. Outside is great condition. Perfect location for a movie theater. But guess what? It's abandoned. Why? Because this place is through, man. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets. When the sound of the grinding is low, he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So what? Mirth shall die down. Music is going to be crappy, etc., etc. So you're going to, the methods that people use to, sedate themselves and to, not relieve, entertain, lift themselves up in the spirit. I'm going to just put it like that for lack of better words. All those things are being brought low and being eliminated. So the only thing that you're going to have is reality. And people can't handle reality. You can't handle the truth, right? You can't handle the truth. That's why they stop the ear. That's why they shake their head. They smack their lips when they walk past the prophets. So, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to report on that real fast. This is coming to a city near you, to an airport near you, and guess what? It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get way worse. Yeah, how about Shemi Shai is gonna put the spirit on this man, as it is written. I'm gonna grab one more, and I'm ended there. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So he's going to ultimately come down with great wrath. This military, ICE, because you gotta think about it. How else will he? Now you might have some troops be drafted to stay here and be I don't know. I think most people that get drafted is going to go over there to that war and die over there. But these ICE agents, they're going to be that military over here that's just wreaking havoc on these people, man. Right? That's set up these military blockades, etc. They're already, that's the Proud Boys. They ready, man. They excited, So I'm in it there. Praises at a fine and faith boost and shalom.